Okay, I'm Jonathan Chapman. I'm I guess a sustainable design theorist. I work here at the University of Brighton as a senior lecturer. I teach 3D design, sustainable design thinking and practice, and I'm the author of a book, Emotionally Durable Design. I'm someone who is currently developing a master's degree in sustainable design here at Brighton. Okay, as someone who works in education, undergraduate and postgraduate education, as well as some sort of PhD supervision, it's the same. It's the same principle, which is that for an individual to embed sustainability or sustainable principles within their work, they have to believe in it and have a kind of sense of ownership over what they're doing. What doesn't work, and I know this because I've wasted a few years trying it, is that pushing facts at people about what you must do and what you should do. What that can do, if it's not done in the right way, is alienate people and turn sustainable design into this kind of awful homework assignment. So the way to try and generate a new common sense for our students is, of course, to have lectures which talk about very specific aspects of sustainable design thinking and practice, many of which are discussed in the Deeds Scales principles, things like product life extension, emotional durability, recycling, when recycling is bad, all the aspects. But what's really distinctive about design education is, sure, we talk about the theories and we talk about lots of examples of how to do it, but the great thing about design education is you then do it. You then produce something, or you develop proposals. You come back to tutors with challenging propositions that actually question the frameworks that you've just been talking about. And that kind of discursive relationship between the staff and the students is what we try to foster, because that's when people really start to become sustainable designers, because they know what you've taught them, but actually then they kind of transcend that and become practitioners who have their own way of dealing with these issues, which is beyond textbook, which is something bespoke, I guess, and distinct. Other research that I do as part of the Inheritable Futures Laboratory at the University of Brighton is work with Nick Gant, where we've developed six terms which start to define what we call models of sustainable design. And these 6 terms are quite different, actually, to the terms within the scales principle. I mean, the words that we use in our 6-point framework, if you like, appear in the Deeds document, but in a very different kind of way. The first of the 6 points is expand. And if you like, expand as a single word is enough, actually. But a short narrative to go with that would be to say that very often sustainable design thinking can be a reductive thing that looks to close down and answer problems. Or we try to define what sustainable design is. It seems to be the thing that sustainable design research wants to do. But actually what sustainable design should be is something which expands and proliferates in a kind of viral way, so that it isn't ownable. It's actually a pervasive thing which, at the moment, if it has disciplinary edges to it, then they need to be pushed outward and continually pushed outward, so that they cross-pollinate and become contaminated with other disciplines that are currently not touched by sustainability and sustainable design, so that at some point in the future we no longer really talk about it. It's just a pervasive consciousness that we have. Change is a constant thing, and okay, sustainability is it's a very specific type of change that has an urgency about it. But change is something that is always being dealt with, and design design is all about change. It's about making change. Design is about redesigning. It's an iterative process, and so accommodating and embracing new issues is something that is what you're trained to do, isn't it? I mean, it should be. Design at its best should be about changing contexts and skilling and responding to changing contexts. And sustainability is, in a way, just another context that's come up which we need to talk about and figure out better ways of dealing with it. And in that sense, it's not scary at all. It's just a new paradigm. So the scale's core principles, I think, function on, for me, two primary levels. One is obviously as a collection of individual items, which I think is a powerful way of unpacking a kind of a theoretical territory. I think that's one thing they do well. But collectively they're more interesting, actually, because they kind of, for me, they read very much like a manifesto, if you like, or a kind of a wish list. And I guess that could be good or bad. The core principles here are kind of saying, here's what you should do, but then there's a silence in your waiting for that to be done. So I guess that would be the next stage of the implementation of the principles, is what happens next. Now that these principles have been sharpened and framed in this way, now what happens to them, to make the change? Because providing principles won't make change. I think it will help to create the conditions for change to happen. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens next with this. Maybe somewhere else in the world there's a team developing something which, when you link to the scales principles of deeds, suddenly becomes this really powerful package of, here's what you should do and here's how you actually make that happen. Because once you make, for example, if I could turn the deeds scales principles into action, then things would be a lot better straight away.